This podcast is part of the Listen Frederick Podcast Network. To learn more, visit listenfrederick.com.
What's up, everybody? It's episode 84 of Beers in the Lot. In this episode, we talked a lot about the trade deadline. We touched on Claude Giroux. We hit on Marc-Andre Fleury. And yes, even the Canes. So let's get to it. Here we go.
What are you drinking this evening, Aaron?
Tonight, I have Miller Lite in a can. In a glass.
In a glass.
A Beers in the Lot glass.
There you go. That's classy.
What do you got tonight, Riggs?
So, in honor of the Flyers captain being traded, and who I think will be now the de facto Flyers captain if he hasn't already got the C. I don't know, John. You'll have to tell me because I don't follow the Flyers because I don't care.
Gritty got it right.
I have big hazy double IPA, the Kevin Hayes beer from Yards Brewing.
Oh, nice.
Out in Philly. So our friend of the pod and Flying Dog Mutt, Brandon McGee, actually left this at my house a little while ago before I got like really sick. So it's been sitting around. It's probably out of code. I don't care. I'm drinking it because haha Flyers. John, what are you doing tonight? It didn't look like beer.
It's not. It's Johnny Walker Red.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
It's me, Red.
Wow, we were. Yeah. So, what are you drinking this evening, Daniel?
So, I had the opportunity to go up to one of my favorite breweries in Massachusetts, Treehouse Brewing. Weird.
Treehouse.
So, actually had beers on draft. That place is fucking amazing.
Yes.
Like, they have also, if you don't, drink beer, you can go there, get some coffee. They have coffee.
Nice.
And they do seltzers. And, they sell coffee just like they do, like, the Starbucks in a can.
Right.
Like a cold brew
Amazing.
nitro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All their stuff is amazing. And the atmosphere up there was just awesome. I wanted to be there for hours.
It was popping.
Yeah. So tonight I am drinking King Creamsicle.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's a good one.
It looked thick.
Yes. It's very smooth. Hints of fruit and vanilla. It's very tasty. Yeah.
I love Treehouse.
Dude, they're amazing.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Looks good. What is that? What is that glass? It's not a normal. Is that a snifter?
It is I believe it's called like a tulip glass.
Oh,
I
okay.
believe.
Yes.
And I got it from up there. You paid like $18 and you got that, and you got to fill it up once.
All right.
And then
Nice.
but it's a 19 ounce, so you could pour the big boys in it and get the foam, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
They know how to do it right.
Someone in their marketing department or sales, or maybe even on the brewing side, was kind of like, hey, we should do something a hair different with the glasses, guys. Just a thought. Excuse me.
Okay.
Pardon.
So we've had this discussion before, but the glass and the shape and the type of glass does affect how it tastes and how it gets in your nose and all that. It's the same thing like with wine and all these other things, right? And
whiskey and bourbon. Yeah,
it's the same deal.
It's important what you use.
It's all connected. But then like there's some bars that will like, depending on the laws or whatever or pricing, they'll serve certain stuff in smaller, more shaped glasses, I think, to entice more sales. But
Yeah.
it,
Yeah, a lot of their heavier stuff, you could only get it in like a 10-ounce pour.
Yeah.
And I think
that's a safety thing.
I
don't
believe,
think that's they're
and
trying
you
to
were
rip
only
anybody off.
Yeah. And you were limited to three drafts.
Yeah.
Because their stuff is on the heavy side.
Makes
But
sense.
yeah, it was awesome.
And you went to Baby Penn's game?
Oh yeah, I went to the Baby Pens game on Saturday. Pre-game was at Trogs.
Yeah.
So that was a good place too. That was fun. That was hopping.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you eat there?
We were going to, but the line was insane when we went
Oh.
to go eat. So we're like, yeah, we're not getting anything here.
They have decent stuff there, man. I went there actually with Brando. In between Christmas and New Year's, we went up to Hershey and went to Trogs before. And they had like this short rib sandwich that was amazing. Like, it was so good. And then their beers are awesome. And
Yeah.
it was cool.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a good little spot too.
Awesome.
So, a couple trades or something happened today. It is Monday night. The trade deadline has transpired at this point, so I'm sure John has lots to say about what's going on today. Who's the biggest winner today? Who's the biggest winner in your opinion, John?
So like I would definitely say New York. They got a little help in their bottom six, and actually Colorado too. They kind of shored up their bottom six. Same thing. There's like two teams I was kind of like, what the hell are they doing? Edmonton needed a goaltender the whole year, and they got Derek Brassard, who I feel like years ago I liked him, and he's been on a downward spiral, and a lot of it I'm sure is injuries, whatever. And
Last I checked, he wasn't a goalie.
yeah, he's not a goalie.
He's a terrible goalie.
He's not. And then
That could be a
and
problem.
then the other, and then Fleury got dealt to Minnesota, which is in the division for Chicago. Cam Talbot's had a decent season so far. I understand the logic of your Billy Guerin. Like, I know I have a lot of familiarity with Fleury. He has a lot of familiarity with me. You know what you're getting, but Cam Talbot's had a good serviceable season, and I don't think Cam Talbot is the issue there. They're still having a.
But didn't they move Kokkinen out or whatever? So
They moved him
had a
out
hole.
too. But like I feel like by having Fleury there, it's unnecessary pressure for Talbot. And I feel like now Dean Evanson, I mean, it's a good problem to have, I guess, if you're a head coach in the playoffs. If your goalie has a so-so period or so-so game, you may have a much shorter leash, right?
Yeah, but they have a short time here to do something. Like,
Yeah, because they're hampered the next 2 years with those buyouts.
right. They have the stupid Suter and Parise contracts that they're still dealing with, and it's still a boat anchor, even though, whatever. I don't know.
Parise got re-upped today by Lou Lamoriello. Stop this. Stop this slander.
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
I know. It's garbage. The other, the one little interesting tidbit that did come out of the whole Marc-Andre Fleury was actually not the Minnesota-Chicago deal. It was the fact that Kyle Davidson apparently leaked some of that Toronto chatter out into the media, and Kyle Dubas, our buddy, was not pleased with that.
Our buddy.
And I'm actually glad, because like Toronto, for the most part, it's a hockey mecca. You don't hear a lot of like the inner workings behind it. Now, obviously, it's the same thing. Like Elliot Friedman, Darren Dreger, Bob McKenzie, Chris Johnson, all those guys kind of like you hear names they're either looking into or guys are possibly floating out there as trade bait or what they're looking to do. But you never hear the inner workings because they kind of keep, very tight to the vest. So
the way I see all that, real quick, the way I don't know if you ever watched The West Wing, but the way that CJ Craig, the press secretary, deals with her press pool. Like she tells them what to put. Like she's, really close relationship with all the people in the press. It's all very filtered, and they're basically on the same team.
Exactly, and a lot of people in organizations too, like they use it also as like they use like those guys that I mentioned previously as like sounding boards sometimes. Like, hey, what are you hearing out there about so and so? Like, we don't get a good beat on that team. Anyway, Chicago apparently leaked some of that information out, and Dubas was not pleased with it. So during his presser, when he was questioned about it, he said something like, "Oh, you guys are going to have to talk to Davidson about that." Just kind of throwing him under the bus a little bit, which I love. And the GM meetings are next week, so I kind of hope they like throw down or he like punches him in the hallway or something. That'd be awesome. But the thing that kind of ticks me off after seeing the whole Minnesota thing, and Riggs and Aaron and Danny, feel free to chime in. So it's a second round pick currently. If Fleury plays 4 games in the playoffs or they make it to the Western Conference Finals, it automatically becomes a first. I think if you're Edmonton, you didn't even throw that out. That is so pathetic.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
Like it's not like early on it was like they wanted a first and a prospect and a player. Yeah, sure. That may be a little too rich, but like Chicago dealt him to somebody in the freaking division
for nothing.
For
basically nothing. No,
exactly.
No real assets today. Like, and
that's going to be a later round pick. It's not like it's a lotto pick.
Exactly.
Like Minnesota, as of today, they're third in the Central. They could technically drop down into the wild card. They could. They're right there.
The West is a little more.
It's jockeying. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a little more turbulent.
Like unless you're the Avs or Calgary, you're pretty safe in your 1-1 spot. 2 through wild cards, those may jockey and change a little bit. Like if you're Edmonton after today, if I was in the fan base, I'd be kind of livid. Like Ken Holland didn't think to go, we need to do something here.
Maybe they didn't even have those picks available. Maybe they, I don't know their whole situation, but maybe they didn't even have that available to deal.
In regard to Fleury, though, I mean, Fleury does have a modified no trade, so he might have
said,
I don't want to go to.
He may have said that. He may have said that, but also like I feel like part of the trade stuff, especially nowadays with guys, it's a combination of probably the salary cap and a few other things because the salary cap's flat. Like if you're a GM looking for players with no move clauses, your due diligence is to call the agents and to at least have open conversation and dialogue. To go like, this is why we want you to come here. This is what you'll be part of. This is what you could help us do. Maybe not this year. Like there are some guys that went to other teams, where, they're probably going to get to the playoffs, but in terms of their contending ship for the cup, it's like slim and none. But like, I'm shocked no one, and maybe they did, so we don't know, but like seeing what he was sold for is just like ridiculous. And also, Seattle, I think in the next 2 drafts has 30 picks with all the moves they made. They have 30 picks in the next 2 drafts.
They're just, so you know what?
I am ditching all my other draft work for the next couple of years. I'm just going to solely focus on what the Kraken do because it's going to keep me well occupied. I love that.
My gosh, yeah.
They're just doing a do-over.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I mean, I think they've had a rough go. Like Grubauer has not played up to snuff. They've had a few injuries.
But we've talked about it before. Their strategy was different than what George McPhee had with Vegas, and also they couldn't get away with some of the stuff that GM did with Vegas because the rules were a little bit different in that expansion, and he kind of understood it and found a way to take advantage and find success in the first year. And maybe the conference at that time wasn't quite there yet. Some of those teams, so they had a path, right?
Right.
Seattle,
and then once you make it to the dance, then who knows?
Right. Who knows what happens, right? You get in and see what happens. But, with Seattle, everybody knew what the deal was. They weren't going to give in. They had a different strategy. And then also, the top quarter of the conference has gotten a lot stronger, right? And even some of the teams that maybe haven't had that much success lately are starting to kind of find their way again. I was reading something about LA earlier that they still have a shot. Like they could get in. So and that people were kind of pissed about what Rob Blake was doing or not doing today. So you know, it's kind of interesting with Seattle.
Yeah, and the funny thing too about Seattle, like early on, everyone kind of thought like, oh, this could be another there were all those rumblings like, hey, look, they could do that. And then like 2 weeks into it, yeah, this is gonna be a long rebuild. They're gonna do some stuff like very quickly. Everyone's like, this may be a little tougher than we thought. Like, but like you said, Riggs, like LA a few years ago was on the downtrend. Edmonton, Calgary, they weren't what they were. Same with Vancouver. Like, so that's 4 teams already in the conference that are downtrending when Vegas started to come into the league. San Jose at that time actually was like one of the top dogs in the conference, goofy enough. And now, you flip it and Vegas is one of the top dogs, minus the fact they still have $30 million sitting up in the stands tonight. But yeah, so yeah. But yeah, Colorado, I think they did a good job. New York, fine with them. Yeah, Giroux went to Florida. I don't like that for Florida personally, but it has nothing to do with Giroux. He's an aging centerman. You can throw him at wing and he's great on the power play. That's awesome, but he makes whatever top 2 line you put him on, it's slower automatically.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going down there to play top 6. Really, with that team is
They don't want to change much.
they're on fire, man.
And
you
they're
think
also
you think he's gonna be bottom 6 player?
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
Really?
that Huberdeau. I mean,
He's
Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
Barkov.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
can't. You're not going to touch.
Hoobs, and you can't mess with their chemistry right now.
Bob's playing well. Spencer Knight looks like he finally is starting to kick it. He got a shutout the other night. Like the one question mark is everyone keeps saying like, oh, Bob in the playoffs though. Let's see. Ooh,
Different team though.
different team this year.
I think he'll be all right.
I really, as goofy as it sounds, I don't see it happening. I kind of want Tampa to drop. So Florida and Tampa have to play in the first round. I want to see like a bloody, mean.
That would be good.
It would be
Battle of the
good.
Peninsula. Yeah,
But
that'd
also
be
that's
good.
like in that division, I think that's your 2 strongest teams. Like Toronto
Right
and Boston. Yeah, right now as of today. A lot can change in the next 3 weeks. But like that would be and Tampa too. They loaded up a little bit. So
we got that Hagel dude from Chicago. Like
they want him to be like Blake Coleman, and he's kind of trending that way.
That's exactly
scary.
That's exactly what
It's
I was
like-
gonna say. He's like a Coleman coming in again here. Like it just.
Did you see what Tavares said?
What did he say?
What did Tavares say?
He said he was talking to the reporters, and he said that he was like, you see a guy like Hagel get traded, and you realize that nobody's safe.
Taze.
Not Tavares.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. He
Well,
was like, "Oh my god,
that was interesting."
But what he was saying really was Patty Kane might be gone, but I don't think that happens.
Well, and there was a report.
I heard rumors about that though. Yeah,
there was a report out of I forget it was one of the beat writers for the Athletic or maybe the Chicago paper out there. They said something like, if Kane goes, DeBrincat's going to ask for a trade immediately after. And if DeBrincat gets traded, Kane's doing the same thing. He's like, get me the hell out of here.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw DeBrincat show up, and I was like, dude, if the Pens got him, holy shit. Every time I watch the Hawks, like a Hawks game, he's just doing like that extra stuff out there. Like he's a great player.
Yeah.
I would love to see him in Pittsburgh.
Well, what do you think about Rickard Rakell?
He's good. He's good. He's a young player. He's got energy. He's good.
Yeah.
I like the trade. What do you think about the trade?
Oh, I'm thrilled as hell.
Well,
you saw my I've been on this like heater for years about Dominic Simone, who I like him, but like anyone that tells me point blank, they're like, oh, he's a scorer. And I've said this jokingly, like his career highlight package, like it's of him hitting posts and getting stoned by goalies. Like that's his career highlight.
Stoned by goalies' chests.
Yeah. Like put in black marks and goalies' pads and stuff. But so Simone, I'm glad he's gone. Zach Aston Reese, he's like this analytics darling because of course he was always good and stuff, but like he didn't do anything outside of that. No. And I never was like coming out of Northeastern as a free agent. He was like highly touted offensively. And I think he scored a few empty nets. So you know how I feel about that. So like I'm kind of, and you get in Rickard Rakell, he's a 2-time 30 goal scorer, I think. So like I'm fine with that. And
I just saw that in that trade. Yeah, Callie Klang's in that trade. That's a name you're going to see on somebody's team.
Maybe
he's a goaltender. He's going to end up. He's going to end up. He's only 19 years old. He's one to watch for though.
Yeah, that's a goaltending prospect they gave up. But I look at it as Rakell probably will skate on Gino's line, and he'll be the scoring winger that Kapanen unfortunately has not been this year. So I love Kapanen, but there's a lot of kind of banner like he likes the lifestyle. He doesn't like the work ethic of being an NHL player. A lot of Pittsburgh media said that. So, Briggs, you guys got a retread.
Yeah, it's kind of I don't know, whatever. Like they sent Sprong away to Seattle and like a couple picks. The coaching staff in Washington didn't like Sprong at all from the get-go.
I thought he was okay with you guys. Personally, I thought he did all right.
I thought whenever he was out there, he looked okay. I don't think he ever like really fit with the roster that they have. Like it was very hard to kind of place him, second, third line kind of thing.
Yeah.
And what Washington's first line looks like. It's not going to change.
Yeah, that's never changing.
Right. Until, somebody breaks a record. And so he was second or third line. He's not going to be fourth line because he's better than that. His skill, his individual skill is better than that.
I was sad when he got traded from Pittsburgh. I was excited for him in Pittsburgh.
He didn't fit in that roster, and the coaching staff didn't know what to do with him. And I don't think they really liked him anyway.
And that's kind of two teams for Sprong, unfortunately, because he didn't really fit in Pittsburgh in a second or third line role.
Or in Anaheim.
And then he was in or in Anaheim.
Right.
Or in Washington.
So, but when you watch him play, I thought he looked good.
He moves and he has a great shot.
He could skate, he could shoot, he's really good on the wall. He's strong, like big, strong dude. It just didn't work out. So they get, Johansson coming back and, he's listed as a left wing, but I think they're going to peg him as a bottom six center with Eller and Dowd kind of in and out with illness and injury and all kinds of different stuff going on. Dowd got hurt the other night. So I think they're going to play around at center. They actually sent McMichael, they loaned him back to Hershey. So I think he's essentially done in Washington unless they do, black aces with him through the playoffs, depending on what Hershey does in playoffs. I think that kind of signals, hey, Mojo's coming back to fill a bottom six center role because they were starting to push McMichael that way. And I thought he looked great.
He's like that young guy that gives a ton of jump.
He looked great in a bottom six center role. He was actually playing fourth line center, and they were like driving play at certain points, and that was proven in stats. Like they were driving play when he was on the ice. Maybe it was matchups, maybe whatever. But I thought he looked good at center, and that's his natural position coming up as a youngster. But they loaned him back to Hershey now, so they don't have to do the whole waiver deal. And I think Mojo's coming in to fill some sort of bottom six center role, which he has played. He's played center before. He was actually second line center for them at one point when they were having issues getting depth at that position. So, it could work out. They're only gonna it doesn't matter what they did or they're gonna do. They're only gonna go as far as their goaltending is gonna take them, and their goaltending is a mess. They between Vanacek and Samsonov, they can't find any consistency, and they allow goals in situations that just kills them. So, if one of them gets hot, okay, let's see what happens. But I think that team is destined for a first or second round exit, depending on what their first round matchup is. And they're a wild card team. Like, the East is set.
Yeah, it's over. It's a seeding thing.
It's basically who gets first or second wild card.
Yeah.
So, we'll see how it goes. They'll probably end up playing Carolina, who got Max Domi, which I'm really pissed off about. Because I've always had a soft spot for Max Domi. I thought he got a raw deal in Montreal coming in. Really tough market. He's got his dad's name. I thought that there was way too much pressure on him coming into that situation. And he's a good player.
When he started off as a rookie in Arizona, he was awesome. And then he got traded in that Galchenyuk deal. And then it was kind of this. I almost feel like he kind of had the same thing near the end that Galchenyuk had in Montreal. They moved him around the lineup a bunch. They put all this pressure on him, and he kind of he didn't flounder, but he definitely didn't, reach potential.
Right.
And I think him being in Columbus, I don't think that situation worked out well for him this year.
That wasn't the best either, because you go down there, and it is like, hey, we don't do offense here. Right?
Yeah, unless you're Patrick Laine.
Right? And, and so now he's in Carolina, and that is terrible. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Canes.
I had to bring it up.
They actually don't like hearing the cannon in Columbus. Yeah. They don't like hearing it.
There's been noise complaints.
Yeah. That's what it is.
They only have so many of the, whatever the things are that make the boom.
The powder.
In the
They only have so many.
Yeah, they only have so many. Whatever.
Yeah, their powder budget is
so
only.
They don't want a lot of goals. Maybe like 4. That's enough.
You think they start charging guys as they get goals? Like, dude, you got a hat trick last game. Yeah. We're gonna have to charge you.
Here's
for
your invoice.
You got to pay for that cannon, bud.
I'm like, what are you talking about? That's not hockey related revenue that comes out of your bill, bud. Jeez.
As much as I don't like that, he will fit in very well with that team because he can skate. He's got a little bit of grit to him from his dad, and that shows up sometimes. And I think he's right up Brendamore's alley. Like, that is the type of player that will fit in really well with what Brindamore is doing down there.
Yeah.
And, look out. That team is loaded for bear.
Wait. Are you talking positively about the Canes?
I always look, man. I will recognize when
real recognize
good.
Real.
Yeah, real
game
recognizes
real.
Yeah,
game recognizes game.
Exactly.
So
like that is a really good team. Despite they've kind of been up and down the last week or so, but that is a really, really good team.
I was actually just about to point out that I think they got shut out by the Rangers last night.
And they lost to Washington 7-2.
They lost to Washington. Yeah. They lost to the Pens.
Pittsburgh beat them. Yep. Just saying.
Yep. I think that is more indicative that as set as the East is, the top four in the East or in the Metro, all four of those teams are pretty similar.
Metro's fucking stacked.
They're pretty even matchups, those four teams. So the four top teams in the East, I think if you put each of them in their own division, they're in the top of their division. Yes. But against each other, they're a good matchup. And if you look at the other divisions, it's not so even. Like there's some standout teams that are clearly the better teams in those divisions, but I don't know that you can really pick one in the Metro. I mean, the Canes have done a little bit better than everybody else, but only by like 3 or 4 points, like not far and away better. So that's going to be an interesting bracket come late April. It's going to be interesting to see.
Johnny, you mentioned something about empty net goals earlier, and it reminded me of something that happened last night. Someone on your team scored an empty net goal.
I was on the bench. I couldn't bear myself to look. Twice in a week. Ugh. I'm just embarrassed. Some of these people, I need to like reevaluate some of the life decisions I make when I sign up for leagues, looking at the roster more intently. Some of these cats coming out here have no respect for themselves or human decency. Frightening. Ugh.
I hope you lose a game by 1 when you put it in the corner.
If I play in John, I'm going to take a slap shot into the empty net.
Well, there you have it. Episode 84 of Beers in the Lot in the books. So now it's time for that weekly event where I pour out our appreciation for you, our listeners, and plug Discord. But for real, thank you for your listen. We really appreciate your support, your likes, your listens, your subscribes, your ratings and reviews, and all your teammates, friends that you've been telling about the podcast. We're seeing our listens go up, and that's because of you. Thank you. And we're seeing even more activity in Discord, which is great. Our community's growing. It's fantastic. So jump in, talk to some of our guests, talk to us, give us some ideas about what you'd like to hear us talk about. It's really not hard. There's a link at beersinalot.com/Discord. It's as easy as scoring an empty net goal. But for real, though, thank you so much for your support. We'll see you next week.